A word to the wise, this episode contains spoilers for the entire Ratchet and Clank franchise, along with the Ratchet and Clank movie. Listener discretion is advised. On this week's episode of Electronic Fun, I'm joined by Callie Creampuff to dive deep into Insomniac's run and gun, Ratchet and Clank, and the Disneyfication of a franchise. So please, join me. Let's have some fun. Jesus Christ.
Hey.
It was like a bomb went off.
Look outside.
Oh my God. Holy shit. That was long too.
Your planet will now belong to the Blargs.
What were you drinking?
Oh, that was water.
That was just water. What the? You're like some kind of creature. You're more like a creature than a girl.
I'm so...
Welcome back to Electronic Fun, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Hello. Callie Creampuff is here to directly blast into your ears.
Everyone listening, their hair is fucking like blasted back in a straight line.
Eyebrows burned off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're Callie's here. We're going to talk about Ratchet and Clank, which is a game by Insomniac that I the only Insomniac game I've ever played are the Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
So
they also did Sunset Overdrive.
Yes. I keep thinking that they also did Jack and Daxter, but that was another PS2. That was a Naughty Dog game. It's another PS2 game with two humorous characters.
Yeah, so here's the thing is Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter are like somewhat affiliated because like there's reference. I don't know how it is for Jack and Daxter, but in Ratchet and Clank, there's like multiple references to Jack and Daxter. Like there's a part in the second game where they're just like on like a billboard, and then in the fourth game you can actually play as Jack.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
Very, very strange. This was just the year, the era of let's have two funny characters
in a 3D platform shooter.
Sure, why not?
Like fuck it.
But yeah, let's. We're talking about Jack and Daxter. Not talking about Jack. God damn it. We're talking about Ratchet and Clank. It came in the year of our Lord 2002, for the PlayStation 2.
The best console ever made.
Years later that we're going to talk about. But let's open up with the classic question, Callie. Mm-hmm. Who are you? How would you describe yourself?
Oh, I'm Callie Creampuff. Oh damn, I'm not used to this level of introspection. I usually just kind of go with it. I'm cute.
Well, I mean, like, what do you do?
Oh, what do I do? Okay. I draw sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I used to do music, so kind of. I don't know. I I kind of just sit in my room all day.
you do live streams sometimes?
I want to get back into it, but I haven't really had a schedule for a really long time.
You have your own podcast called Broadband?
That's true. Thank you. You know myself better than I do.
Yes.
Number one Callie Creampuff fan, Lex Shatterball.
Number one, that's me. So now that we've gotten that introduction out of the way, where it was mostly me introducing you.
Yeah. Oh boy, I can only imagine how the rest of this is gonna go.
This episode's gonna go great. How did your sort of relationship with games begin? When did you start playing video games?
Oh, I like really early. Here's the thing: is I didn't really play games as much as I really like watched my big brother or my dad play games.
Mm-hmm.
Our first console, I want to say mostly because it was my dad's console, was the N64. And so I would watch a lot of Mario 64 and WCW versus NWO Revenge and Batman Beyond and 007 and stuff like that. And then a little bit later, we got the PS2. and like had a few PS1 games like Frogger and did like a Disney racing game. And then we got Ratchet and Clank. And like from then it was history.
So was that the first game that you played, or was that something earlier?
I would say Mario 64 was probably the first game I played. I was actually really scared of it as a kid. I only ever did Bob-omb Battlefield and like the first Bowser level.
Like reminds me of when Nifty was on the program, and he didn't play Mario 64, but he watched the first time he ever saw it was he watched speedrun videos of it on
Oh.
YouTube, and he was very frightened.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is going too fast.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
like
not how the game
you're not
works.
supposed to do this. It's scary.
It's wrong. Goes against the rules."
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into actually Ratchet and Clank itself.
Yeah.
What is Ratchet and Clank? What is it? What's the story about? Give us the details.
Yeah. Okay. Ratchet and Clank is a 3D platformer shooter. I think would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
That follows the story of Ratchet, a Lombax ship mechanic from the planet Velden. The story starts out with there's a robot factory run by Chairman Drek. And there's a defective robot that is made in the factory who's really, really small, and his name is Clank. Well,
they make a stupid little shitty robot.
They make a
named
tiny
Clank.
little shitty robot on accident. Who gets chased out of the factory, flies away on a little like escape ship, and then crashes on the planet Velden, where Ratchet finds him, and Clank tells Ratchet about Chairman Drek's ultimate plan to destroy a bunch of planets so he can take the planet parts and make a new planet because the Blargs have polluted their planet so bad that it is unlivable.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
They try to find this superhero named Quark.
Yeah,
That
Captain Quark. Captain Copernicus Quark.
It goes very, very well.
Oh, it goes swimmingly. They meet him, and like it all goes really well. He's very like cooperative and helps them to take down Drek. Captain Quark, who is a huge sellout and sucks, is actually working for Drek, and was given the mission to stop Ratchet and Clank from interfering with Drek's plans.
Yeah, and they end up having it's a classic buddy cop thing, basically.
Yeah,
I think I read somewhere that described it as they wanted it to be like a Lethal Weapon almost, where Ratchet is more of the hothead type guy, and Clank is a lot more focused on what he's doing, but he's a little naive because he's a shit little stupid robot.
Yeah, because he was like born yesterday.
He's the shittiest little robot that's ever existed. But yeah, they have to stop Drek, and they eventually become lovers at the end.
Yeah, they stop Drek, and like they just like start making out with tongue.
It's awesome.
It's a little one-sided because I don't think Clank has a tongue, but like Ratchet compensates pretty well for it.
Well, how long is a Lombax's tongue?
Oh, I mean, it's not It's not about the size. It's about what you do with it.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good recap of what the game's about. And you can talk about whatever spoilers you want. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so you kind of mentioned it earlier, but what was your first experience with this game? Where were you in your life at that time?
Oh, I was probably like 4 years old.
Awesome.
We got the game for Christmas along with a like knockoff Transformer. It was like a little race car that turned into a robot and had a little tiny like figure of just like some guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my favorite. He was the little dude. He's one of my favorite toys. So that has nothing to do with Ratchet and Clank. And so yeah, I mean, it was mostly me watching my big brother play, which I was fine with. I loved watching, usually more than I like playing. But I did play it a little bit myself throughout my childhood. I never beat the game. I never beat it. The first time I beat it was I think last year. Or maybe like earlier this year. It was earlier this year. It was like February or March. And then I got to see the titular scene of them making out.
That's very interesting that you picked this game as the thing to talk about, since it's really been so recent that you've really gotten fully into them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I've revisited the first game various times. Like, I think like, I would say like 5 years ago or something.
Mhm.
Back when we had like the PS3 collection that had the first 3 games. I like tried to play through it, and I mean, I got to the final boss, and then I couldn't beat it, and so I stopped playing. So I mean, I've known the game pretty well for most of my life. I just hadn't beaten it.
That's fair. Uh, yeah. So I mean, we've sort of mentioned that this is a third person platformer shooter thing.
hmm
So before we get into the story stuff, let's talk about the gameplay. So
Yeah.
how does this game handle as a platformer?
Ooh, it like I will
uh,
I will say it's pretty good. It's a little janky. They definitely like fixed a lot of the problems in the subsequent games, but I mean, I think it had a pretty good base to it. It
mhm.
like wasn't bad. It was just like a little slow.
It's
Um
very stock standard. This is what a platformer is like.
yeah, yeah, it's nothing special as far as like the movement goes.
Yeah. And what about the shooting mechanics? Is
Oh,
how do you feel about those?
Oh, the shooting. I mean, that's like the draw to those
That's the
games
game. Huh?
is the combat and the various different like it's like fucking like 20 different guns that you get throughout the
Yeah.
game and like a bunch of different gadgets, and I mean, they're all like incredibly unique, and they have like varying styles of how you have to use them, and they have like really fun designs and really fun mechanics. I will say I think the one problem I have with the first game uh is the fact that there's no strafing.
Mhm.
And so it makes it really hard to like continuously aim at something while also trying to dodge attacks. Which they
Yeah.
added in every subsequent game, and it made it a whole lot easier to play.
I don't remember. Is there a lock-on system in the original?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
they're kind of had to be because you couldn't aim very well unless you like went to first person. So like most guns had a lock on.
Yeah. That makes it a lot easier than having the
hmm
is I feel like it would be especially impossible if you had strafe but no lock on.
Yeah. Oh, it would be hellish.
Very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the Ratchet and Clank games are known especially for a lot of the weapons that they have, and
hmm
even especially in the later games, there's a
Yeah.
lot more weapons. But this is the first one, so they kind of got the ball rolling with some smaller stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's your favorite weapon to use?
Oh, it's like in my heart of hearts, the answer is the Walloper. The Walloper has been my favorite, like, ever since I was a kid, because it's just a big fucking boxing glove.
A big boxing
Like,
glove.
um, though I would say, like, presently, like, the one that's the most fun to use. I mean, it's hard to beat the Decimator, I think it is, just the big rocket launcher.
The big rocket launcher. Uh,
I like the Visibomb gun too. I just think that's a fun concept.
the fucking remote control missile from Metal
Yeah,
Gear
yeah,
Solid.
it fucking rules.
Uh, I think the one that I think is the best. I really like the Morpho Ray, just the
Oh,
gun that turns people into chickens.
yeah, the Morpho Ray's silly.
Oh yeah, we're going silly mode.
Yeah.
But they have there's lots of different really fun kinds of weapons, and one of the
Mhm.
weapons that I think is really interesting is there's the what's it called, the super big missile one, the Rhino.
Yeah, the Rhino, yeah.
The Rhino that you can only really get on like a second playthrough when you
Yeah,
have
you
enough
have to get
money
it
to
on
buy it.
fucking New Game Plus.
It's a nice little thing that this is this is game is in sort of the early 2000s, in that era where I wouldn't say that the value of that replay value is going down in games at this
Mhm.
point, but it's not as focused on as in something like the late 90s.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I like that there's a weapon in there that you really have to get on your second playthrough to really encourage that. You just have a big missile launcher that
Yeah,
kills
like,
everything that
hey,
you
if you
can run
play this
through
game
with.
again, you will get a gun that kills everything instantly forever.
It's a very Resident Evil style of designing a
Yeah,
game with
oh,
that.
you're totally right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So this game, I would say, almost has like a Metroidvania style
I guess
progression,
so.
kind of,
A little
because
bit.
you run around a lot of different planets, and sometimes you'll run
Mhm.
into obstacles that you can't surpass, and you have to go
Yeah,
find
you have
other
to come
items.
back.
Like
I never really thought about it that way, but I guess
it's
you're right.
yeah, that was my question, was how do you feel about that? And I guess I've never noticed that until now.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I know that there's like you have to come back to do certain like side stuff or certain things that have to do with progression, but like I never really thought about how much that correlates with like a Metroidvania style game. I guess just because like every level is so separated and like most
Yeah.
Metroidvanias are very interconnected and interwoven, it never really
Yeah.
occurred to me. But I mean, I
Like,
think it's fun. I love having like every level be a very, very stark contrast from the last.
yeah, they do a
Uh
good job at that, all the level designs being
yeah.
very different and unique, and we'll get into that when we talk about the areas and the music later on.
Oh, oh boy, I can't wait.
Those are there are a lot of really, really great, level design,
Yeah.
sort of just aesthetics in each world.
Mhm.
Uh, there's also, like, some weird, like, side mini game things in there.
Yeah.
Like, there's, was it the hoverboarding? There's, like, a
Yeah,
weird
yeah, the hoverboard
laser
race.
laser hacking mini game.
Yeah.
I guess my question was, like, do you like those?
Oh, I have I on the hoverboard racing, I have mixed feelings. I think the hoverboard racing is incredibly janky,
Yeah.
and not the most satisfying. I like that you can do tricks on it. Um, like it has the fucking like you spin and hold the board and shit like that.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's cool. I think I love the music and once you get the hang of it, it can be fun, but it's not the most intuitive.
Yeah, I watched, the how I did research for this game, so I watched a big long play of it, and
Mhm.
the guy who was playing it, he had, like apparently he, like, played this game all the time, so he was,
Yeah.
like he was, like, super good at it and would, like,
Yeah.
fucking destroy on the hoverboard sections. Uh, God, so he would, like, do some, like, weird insane shit of, like, doing
Yeah.
massive skips and stuff. I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Uh but yeah, I mean, the mini games are mostly kind of small stuff. I know they get
Mhm.
more complicated mini games and more of them in the later games,
Oh,
which
absolutely.
we'll kind of
In
talk about.
in the second game, if I can give a quick example, there's 2 different hacking mini games.
Awesome.
It's fucking completely unnecessary.
That's actually my very next question is about, because when we've obviously briefly talked about
Mhm.
just in our personal conversations, talked about doing what we're going to talk about on the podcast, and you talked about part of the reason you picked this game was you wanted to talk about how the series sort of evolved over time.
Yeah. Oh my god, I have, plenty of words to say on that.
And yeah, the question I had was, how do you think the evolution of the series has affected the gameplay? Do you think it's, like, gotten worse or better? And
I
do you prefer the simpler gameplay of the original?
I definitely I pretty vehemently say that after after the 4th game, Ratchet Deadlocked, I just don't like them very much. Um, it has less to do with the gameplay and more to do with how they handled the characters and the writing and stuff like that. Um, but I mean, as far as gameplay goes, like the newer games are fine. I think Ratchet Tools of Destruction, the first one for the PS3, was dog
Mhm.
shit. It had like shitty writing, shitty plot, shitty characters, and it also had shitty gameplay because none of the guns felt good or did any damage.
Awesome.
Um, it was just a bad game. It was just a really, really bad game. I think Crack in Time, the one that like came out after that one, uh, I think it's a fun game. I think they definitely did a lot better. They learned from their mistakes with Tools of Destruction, but I still just don't like the characters or the writing. But the game's fun. It's fun enough.
Yeah, and I don't think I think Rift Apart is only on PS5,
Yeah,
so I don't think you've played that.
no, I like what I've seen of the gameplay of Rift Apart. It definitely feels a lot different because like with the newer games, they made it feel a lot more like a third person shooter than a third person platformer shooter.
Yeah.
Like like how there's an aim button where instead of like the first person view that's like kind of clunky and
Yeah.
you're not expected to use it very much, it changes the perspective to where it's like over the shoulder shooter instead of like the camera's like a like Lakitu camera Mario 64 style. Um,
And yeah, go ahead.
which is like it's a little jarring to me, but I like get why they did it, and it works better for just like shooting.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common problem that happened to a lot of PS2 games that were going over to the PS3 generation is they had trouble really transitioning and maintaining that sort of central uh that sort of key spark that they had from the PS2
Yeah.
era. It happened to a lot of franchises where they had a good track record of PS2 games, and then by the time they got to the PS3 era, they just like,
Yeah. No, I mean,
like obviously it happened with Jack and Daxter, like
yeah,
the game we mentioned earlier. It's a weird thing. I don't know why that happened,
I don't
but it
either.
did.
I I think one of the things that truly killed my enjoyment for the Ratchet and Clank series was that they changed it from a teen game to an E10 plus game. It
Yeah,
just
I
like
forgot. Yeah.
yeah, that was like the huge thing about the move to the PlayStation 3 is that they like completely shifted. I mean, that's why the characters and writing is so much different because there's no edge to it whatsoever.
Yeah, this game, it's hard to, it's kind of weird to say that this game has edge to it.
Yeah.
But
You're playing as a goofy little furry guy and a fun little robot shooting
there's
laser guns.
there's throughout most of the game, Ratchet is kind of an asshole.
Yeah. Oh my god. Especially, I mean, the first game is, I think, the best like depiction of Ratchet I think there is. Because like, yeah, he's a dick. He like gets really mad at Clank all the time for being a naive little dipshit. And like
Yeah,
for like half
Clank
the
is
game, they hate each other.
Clank is like so sad all the
Yeah,
time.
like it's so sad the whole game because like he doesn't like know what is like he thinks he knows what to do, but then like everything he tries to do, he just like ends up either like getting lied to or just not having a full understanding of the situation. And Ratchet just hates him for it.
You fucking idiot. Like, there's a scene really early on when they're trying to find Quark.
Yeah.
And they run across this like robot, fucking like advertisement machine that's like, "Hey, I'm Captain Quark. I'm going to be judging this hoverboard
Yeah, he's gonna be
competition."
the hoverboard race.
And Clank is like, "Oh wow, it's Captain Quark. We found him."
Yeah.
And Ratchet's like, "Oh, do you think?" He's like, "You fucking idiot."
You fucking moron. That's just a television screen.
Like that's just a robot. Look, it's got springs for legs.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking of a different thing.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
robot on the at Metropolis. Yeah. I'm
On
dummy.
the spring,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You fucking idiot!" And they're
That's
just
a
like, "Oh,"
robot.
and he's like, Ratchet's like, "Oh," like he's so sad.
Excuse me, Captain, but we have more pressing issues. We urgently need your assistance.
Clank,
Yes?
do you notice anything unusual about Captain Quark?
Well, I find the fact that he has a spring where his leg should be to be quite puzzling.
And why do you think that is?
Possibly an injury incurred while battling evil?
This isn't the real Captain Quark, you numbskull. It's a robot.
Oh.
Poor
He's such a
Clank, dude.
sad, stupid little robot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's. I never really paid it. I guess I never realized, doing my research, that they changed over from the PS2 era to the PS3 era. They changed it
Yeah.
to E10 plus, which makes a lot of sense as to
Hmm.
why, especially a lot of the, I've heard from like Ratchet and people who are like super into these games. It's like they seem almost like, I have a question. I have a sort of statement about this later on when we get to the art
Hmm.
style. It's almost like
Yeah.
they kind of Disney-fied it. They made
Yes. Oh
everything.
my god. Yeah, they did. They like absolutely did.
I might as well jump to that question immediately because
Sure.
I was having to
Yeah.
have it later, which is, do you think that the grittier art style of this game, I put grittier in quotation marks because it's kind of weird calling this game gritty.
Yeah.
Do you think that the art style has aged well, especially since the latter games have changed a lot of stuff? They basically made it all smooth and nice and pretty.
I
Yeah.
I think the games have aged beautifully. I think
Hmm.
that like the art style they chose to make like they made everything, especially in the first game, they made everything like really blocky and matte. Like there's not much like shiny stuff in it.
Mhm.
And like it's like got that kind of like retro future look to it. Like everything's really blocky and chunky.
Yeah.
And everything's all like big plates of metal and big rivets and big colorful structures and stuff like that. And like it works really. I think it holds up great personally. That might be a little bit of nostalgia talking, but like if you compare that to how like the early PS3 games have aged, I think it's like it was definitely they were like, oh, we have all this new hardware. Let's try and make everything look as like high fidelity as we can and give Ratchet fucking fur textures that look like shit.
Yeah. The thing that really stood out to me about this game was specifically the animation work. Like it's
Yeah.
super, super fluid. They did a really good job with the animations of the
There's like so
original.
much like squash and stretch and like fun little like touches
Yeah.
like that. It works really well.
I don't mean to shit on these games I've never played before, but you go to like the remake of the original,
Yeah.
where everything is like, it looks like a modern Disney movie where it's
Yeah.
like it's very beautifully rendered, but at the same
Yeah.
time, there's something almost like missing about it.
Yeah, it doesn't have that like charm or that character that the
Yeah,
old games had.
it's there's something is definitely lost there in that transition.
Mhm.
Well, let me go back to the question I was going to ask it originally.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the story of this game.
Word.
How do you feel about it? Are you like terribly invested in it, or are you more focused on the gameplay stuff?
The story is like fine. I mean, it's not very complex. It's I'm a little bit. It's I mean, the most complex part about it is just the interactions and like dynamics between the characters and how they develop. But I mean, the story long and short is there's an awful space capitalist destroying planets and we're stopping him.
You gotta stop them.
We got to stop him. And I mean, like through all that, like there's all the different obstacles, like meeting Quark, and then he tries to feed you to a Blargian snaggle beast, and then you try and get back at him. And I mean, a bunch of in between stuff like that. But I mean, by and large, the plot itself is very simple.
Yeah. Like you said, it's all very much focused on that relationship between Ratchet and Clank and how that
Yeah,
develops over the entire game.
absolutely.
Uh, and I think they do a really good job of it.
Yeah.
Especially, I think they have the next question is about the two of their rapport between each other.
Mhm.
Uh, and I guess it's really how do you feel about it in this game, and then eventually how it sort of pans out throughout the rest of the series.
Well, I mean, that's the problem, right? Is that the first game kind of covers Ratchet and Clank's arc as like meeting and having their differences and like coming back together. And then I mean like in the further games, they're just like buddies for life. Like they just like
They don't really grow as
inseparable.
characters.
Yeah, for like from that, I mean, most of their growth happens in the first game. I'm sure there's like some things I might be missing out, but I mean, it's definitely nothing as significant as the first game.
I think they need to go back and remove Ratchet's shirt. Ratchet is better
I
as
I
when
agree.
shirtless.
I like some of the armor designs in like the second and third and especially the fourth game are like really cool. But I mean there's actually a skin in the third game where you can just go back to his original first game model, which I think is fun. But I
But
mean they never really revisited it.
yeah, it's for some reason there's something about the design of Ratchet specifically because I think Clank is a really really great design
Yeah.
and he fits in very well with that world. But there's something about Ratchet that feels like it's very much pulled out of like the mid '90s school of mascot design. Like
Yeah, I get that.
he would have fit right in there with like what is that fucking game? It would like I almost want to say like Bubsy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the very, very like smarmy, like tough, like grouch, a little grouchy. Like I just want to do my own thing. I'm very in my own motivations.
They have like I know after the first game they changed like they gave him a different voice actor in all the other games other than the first one. I think like what is it? Yeah, in the original he's played by Mikey Kelly, I think,
Mikey
who
Kelly, yeah.
I think the only thing I know him from is like the 2008 Ninja Turtles movie where he plays Michelangelo.
Wow.
But in all the other games he's James Arnold Taylor, and I think that they kind of in the rest of the games they turn him into kind of like a fucking what do I want to say here?
He's just kind of a generic hero guy.
I was literally about to say generic hero guy.
Yeah, because You get it. They completely like sanded down his character because he's now just like regular action hero, does the good thing, and has no flaws.
Yeah, it's again, I don't mean to constantly spend this entire episode. We're supposed to be talking about this game that you like, shitting on other games.
No, I mean,
But yeah, no, go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna say I agree that there's a lot of stuff that I don't like about what they did to the series. So I mean, by all means.
I mean, it's just there is something that's very much. They really did sand down all the weird edges of this game, and I feel like that. Yeah, that was a very common thing that happened in that seventh generation,
Yeah.
where they would just take interesting game concepts and just sand them down for widespread appeal,
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, exactly.
which is a thing that happened a lot in the Xbox 360, PS3 era.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really sad that they had something like that happen to such an interesting game series like this. That had such a very interesting world and a lot of really great characters, and they're like, yeah, let's let's make him a guy.
Yeah, so the kids for the kids.
Not only did they put a shirt on him, but they gave him shoes.
They gave him shoes.
That's not right.
I mean, I like get it. I feel personally it would be a little weird if he had this like cool like power pilot armor and then just had bare feet. But he does end up just having like these big clown shoes because his feet are so long. I also think it's very funny how they gave him like tail armor for like his tiny little wiry tail.
Oh my god, yeah, they did give him tail armor. I just remember. Oh my god. Just barefoot is legal, as they say. Give this man
Barefoot is beautiful.
Give him some sandals. Give him like maybe a tank top. Don't give him a shirt. That's not right.
No, maybe like an open shirt, like an open Hawaiian shirt.
Let's talk about Drek as a villain.
Sure, yeah.
I think it's very interesting that they have Drek as this main villain in the game. And then immediately, second game, they transition over to the Dr. Nefarious and they just use him for the rest of the series.
No, that's actually the thing. The second game doesn't have Dr. Nefarious either. Dr. Nefarious wasn't brought in until the third game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in the second game, it's another the main antagonist is another like super capitalist, the owner of Megacorp, Dr. Fizzwidget. Who you're working for like the first half of the game because they're developing the Protopet, which is like this like new like creature they've created. But as it actually turns out, the actual antagonist was Captain Quark disguised as Mr. Fizzwidget and locked Mr. Fizzwidget in a broom closet.
Oh my god.
So technically Mr. Fizzwidget isn't the enemy, but like Megacorp is. So like it's kind of the same situation.
Yeah, but I mean my question was mostly how is Drek as a villain, especially compared to when they basically go a whole hog in on Dr. Nefarious from the third game onward.
I like Drek. I mean, there's not much about him other than he's a like greedy little capitalist guy. Like he just wants to destroy stuff for his own gain. And like at the end of the game, they talk about like, yeah, like he's the reason that the planets got polluted, and he's getting paid for like every square foot of the planet that he builds, and so he's just gonna keep on doing that until there's like he can get as much money as he can.
Yeah,
it's not too in depth. I mean, not a lot of the villains are in Ratchet and Clank. But I mean, I like him. I think he's a good villain.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to keep jumping into the other games, but I think it is very interesting that they got to the third game and they're like, let's just keep on this Dr. Nefarious guy.
Here's the thing: is Dr. Nefarious is great. He's a really fun, very well written villain, who like actually has some semblance of a backstory. Being that he used to be Captain Quark's nemesis until he got like pushed into a pool of lava and came back as a robot. But like that was also the thing is that after the third game, they didn't use Dr. Nefarious for Tools of Destruction. They had maybe one of the worst villains in any Ratchet and Clank game, Emperor Tachyon. And that's when they realized, oh, we did such a bad job with that villain in that game. Let's just bring back Dr. Nefarious because he worked well for the third game.
Fuck it.
Dr. Nefarious also wasn't in Deadlocked, but I mean, Deadlocked was like a whole like side kind of thing.
Deadlocked is like such a weird. It's not. Clank's not even in it. It's just Ratchet Deadlock.
Yeah, well, he's in it, but like you don't play as him unless you play cooperative and play as like Mega Clank, who's like Clank in like power armor.
It's such a weird. Just, I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of research on Ratchet Deadlock. Oh, but just looking at the cover art, all I could think of was like Bomberman Act Zero. It's like the Bomberman Act Zero of the Ratchet and Clank series.
Yeah, it was like definitely the edgiest they got with it. Like, because the whole thing takes place in this like death gladiator game show where like it's all like challenge mission based, where like you have to like complete a different like Coliseum trial or like beat a big boss. And I mean, it's really fun and I love it a lot, but it's just so much different than all the other games.
Yeah. We kind of maybe already touched on this, but what do you think is the weakest aspect of the game?
Of just like of the first game, just in general?
Yeah, the first game, just in general.
Ooh. I mean,
Like
personally, if you're asking me, it's the lack of strafing. But yeah, I think a lot of people would be turned off by how like weird and kind of clunky it is. It's like it's not bad, but it's like enough that it could be a turn off. Especially when you compare it to the other PS2 games where they really kind of develop it a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's for some reason the only thing I can really think of PS2 games where you have third-person shooting mechanics is I immediately gravitated to the Grand Theft Auto games that were coming out at that time, where especially I was thinking of the third one, which came out a year before this game, and the lock-on targeting in that game is ass. In I think they got it together by San Andreas, but in 3 and a little bit less so Vice City. The lock-on targeting is terrible. But you know, they put in the effort to make it feel good, and I think that's what makes it work very well.
Yeah.
In Ratchet and Clank. What would you say is the strongest aspect of the game?
I mean, I think it's honestly like the world and the designs and the weapons. Like the design work, I think in the first game is some of my favorite in the entire series. Like a big example of what I really like about it is how they designed the weapons around the fact that they're collapsible and like because when you deploy a weapon, it like does this little animation where it like constructs itself and like it has a bunch of like fun sound effects of it like building itself in your hand. And like they kind of drop that off immediately in the second game where it's a lot like it feels less like it's building itself and it more just kind of like grows in your hand until it's there in like half a second.
Yeah, all the weapon design, especially when you see it, there's the little green merchant guy that you buy weapons from. Does he have a name?
The guy, the Gadgetron guy.
Yeah. Just when you talk to him because he's really funny.
Yeah, in a fuzzball.
Hey, funny, you want to buy something from me? Get here, fuck you.
I got some great bargains for you today.
When you buy stuff from him and you get that, any game that gives you like really up close 3D models of the weapons, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's you know they care about that aspect of it.
And I think this whole episode is just us realizing that after Ratchet and Clank 1, they just stopped caring.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't have like the rotating models and stuff, but I mean, in the later games, they had like these big pictures of them, and like they still definitely cared about the weapon design. They just like, I guess, not to the extent of the first game. I mean, they were just more concerned about making it look like cool.
I guess that makes more sense for this because it's the first game in a series, so they're trying to come up with something new and exciting, and then by the second time they can just reiterate on it and not have as much focus on little
put
things.
as much like emphasis on it because like people already know what it's about.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite area in the game?
Oh my god, my favorite area. Oh, I know. It's the fucking. It's the gadget. Gadgetron like space station,
Mm.
where it's that big ellipse and like all the like the meteors and like the things jutting out of it. I think it's like the third or fourth planet in the game.
Yeah, I want to say maybe third.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like there's not that much to do in it, but it's like such a fun little area. Like you just go around all these little like test chambers and fight these weird frogs, and you can send Clank out into space. And he walks around and like opens a door and stuff. I don't know. I have such a specific nostalgia for that level.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
You like getting the little rocket ship and going between.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you go to
level.
the ship that's like off to the side.
Yeah. I think mine would probably be what's the name of it? The Pokitaru, the resort.
Yeah. Oh, Pokitaru is really fun.
When you meet the guy with the fucking Hawaiian shirt,
Yeah.
he's like, you gotta help me. Yeah, right.
You did. I will say I had like a bad time in that level. I don't know if I like just the like part where like the fish are just like coming onto the little boat and you have to fight them on. That shit's hard.
Yeah.
Um,
For some reason, lots of games do that where they have long
Yeah.
sequences where you're on a thing and then little creatures will come up and try to
I
attack you. I
like
don't know why they do that.
when I played through that level, I completely forgot this game had an escort mission.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, like, you don't really have to do much as far as like you don't have to protect him or anything. You just have to clear out the enemies before he can go forward. I would say my second favorite is probably the Gadgetron HQ, which is like that like the place with all like the teal glass and like the conveyor belts. And that's where the second hoverboard race is. The thing about that, it's always later in the game than I expect it to be. I always expect it to be like a mid-game level, but it's like the third to last planet. But it's fun. I like the design of it and the vibes and the enemies and shit.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed the area. I think right after you meet Quark, and he's like, "Hey, go on my little funny trial thing."
Yeah,
and you have to go to,
yeah,
like this
like-
random building
Yeah.
where there's like
That's right.
barbed wire everywhere,
Yeah,
like you're in a
like
fucking
the
war
fucking
zone.
boot camp training grounds. And that level
That-
is hard too.
That's fun. And then he has this little underground zone where he can
Yeah.
dump people off to die.
Yeah, you have to fight the Blargian Snaggle Beast.
You never know when you got to fight a Blargian.
You never. I've been saying this. You could be just like out on the street. All of a sudden, you fall into a manhole and you have to fight a Blargian Snaggle Beast.
It happens to me all the time.
Happens like at least like every other week. It's really inconvenient.
What do you think is your favorite song from the soundtrack, if you could name one?
Oh, I think it's the one on Outpost X. Is it 11? It's like the like third level, but like the second on the planet registry. The like nighttime like desert like quicksand area with like the big building and the sand sharks. There's the specific song where you go on like the side mission where you use the swing shot. And it's got the music that goes like boom bum 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 boom bum boom bum boom bum bum boom bum 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 ba 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 ba. I fucking that song like holds such a special like place in my heart.
It's a really great song. I like a lot of the music.
That's the thing is like I had to think about it first because in my heart of hearts that is my favorite answer or my favorite song. But like the first game has so many good songs.
It's very much a product of its time, and that's a very 2002 soundtrack where there's lots of like weird techno shit.
Yeah.
But my favorite's probably the song that plays on Eudora, where it sounds almost like the Futurama theme. But yeah, I can imagine like what was that show on G4 where they'd have like music videos of games.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched G4.
Yeah, that sounds like that show was fucking hilarious because they had a Breaking Benjamin music video with Half-Life 2. It was awesome. Have you seen that video?
No, but that sounds like it rules.
It's fucking hilarious. Just imagine G-Man lip syncing
Mhm.
to Breaking Benjamin, and that's all you need to know. But yeah, it sounds like weird, like it's very like early 2000s. It almost reminds me of
Yeah.
like music from like Wipeout.
Yeah. It's like very synthy, very like I always wanted to describe it as like space junk synth.
Yeah, like high intensity like trance music and shit like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, Eudora just reminds me of the Futurama theme, and I'm like, oh, I like that. Uh, we kind of already talked about this, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the rest of the series?
I mean for first four games were great. I think especially as far as gameplay goes, they took the game in a really nice direction. The weapon design, like the weapon, maybe not sorry, the designs got like wacky and like they had really cool mechanics. They had some fun characters. Like I really liked the Galactic Rangers in the third game.
Yeah.
The fucking like robots with the southern accent. um I mean, and the PS3 happened.
The
Oh
PS3
yeah, a
happened.
game that I don't think like I didn't really talk about is the fifth game, Size Matters.
The
That
PSP
was
game.
Yeah, it was the PSP one that I mean they put on the PS2 as well, but it's like it's probably the one I know the least. Well, it's of the PS2 games, that's the one I know the least about.
The
Uh,
PSP game that isn't Secret Agent Clank.
Yeah, and also Secret Agent Clank that I know even less about because I like never played it. I did, however, me and my brother got the pre-order for Secret Agent Clank where you got a little Secret Agent Clank figure
Yes.
that eventually got chewed up by my dog and his arm and antenna fell off.
Awesome.
Yeah, I still have it. I think. I hope. I'd be a failure if I were to lose it.
I,
Um,
I think I remember when I was a kid, there was a guy who would always bring his PSP to like the after school place that we stayed at because our parents
mhm,
were working.
yeah.
So he would like always. I think he had a copy of Secret Agent Clank. And I was always very impressed because everyone
Mhm.
else had DSs and that's what we would play, but he was like
Yeah,
the one kid off in the
the
corner with a PSP.
PSP, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm playing Medal of Honor, and I'm like, okay, cool. He always intrigued me.
Mhm.
Uh, but Clank is obviously the superior character, so I'm interested in seeing what that game is all about.
Yeah. Um,
Uh, what else?
but I mean, yeah, I mean, as far as like the advancement of the series, I mean, everything got like you said, sanded down. It got a lot more friendly. Ratchet's character went from flat to flatter. Oh my god, something I want to talk about is Ratchet's character motivation ever since the PlayStation 3.
Yes.
Um, so from Tools of Destruction onward, Ratchet's like entire character motivation for like every game is about the fact that he is the last Lombax ever. Um, which first of all isn't true because in the second game,
was there a Lombax genocide sometime in
yes,
the middle
there
of the
was.
series?
They talk about it in Tools of Destruction how the Tachyon and the Kragmites um like went to war with the Lombaxes and the Lombaxes used the Dimensionator to escape to a different dimension. As well as like banish the Kragmites. But like in the second game, you meet the character Angela Cross, who is another Lombax.
Would make no
uh,
sense.
and then they like you never see her again, and they completely like retcon her existence.
Awesome.
So I mean, after that point, like Tools of Destruction is all about Tachyon and how and like the war between the Lombaxes and the Kragmites and getting the Dimensionator, which is dumb. And then
Dumb.
it's stupid. And then Crack in Time is the game where you meet Alistair Azimuth, who is supposed to be the only other Lombax. Sorry, Angela. Which I mean is kind of interesting. It was definitely like interesting to think about at that time. It's like, oh my god, it's another Lombax. I guess we'll forget about Angela, but I mean, that's cool. But I mean, and then I don't know much about the ones after Crack in Time, like
Nexus and Rift Apart.
Yeah, Nexus and Rift Apart. But I mean, in Rift Apart, the game starts. The whole reason that there's the whole dimensional rift stuff is because as a present, Clank gets Ratchet the Dimensionator, which then gets taken by Dr. Nefarious and then gets subsequently broken and just fucking breaks space time.
And then they have
like,
we got there's a girl Lombax now.
Yeah, and then you meet the other only other Lombax.
There's so many only Lombaxes.
Right. It's almost like it's not a very stable basis for your storylines.
for your character and his motivation.
When you literally didn't give a shit about it for like 5 games.
That's awesome.
I will say one of the newer Ratchet and Clank games I really liked was Ratchet and Clank All for One. Not for the story or anything. I'm pretty sure the story was like bad, but it had 4-player cooperative play where you could play as Ratchet, Clank, Captain Quark, or Dr. Nefarious.
Awesome.
And it was so cool. Like the fact that I got to play as Dr. Nefarious. Also, the Rhino in that game was like a giant mech suit. It was really dope, and I mean, it was a lot of fun. That was another thing that pissed me off about Rift Apart was like, we're just bringing back Dr. Nefarious. Like fuck it at this point. He's like the only villain that we've got that's been able to stay for more than one game.
That's like good and didn't get fucking blown up. Like
yeah. I'm over it. Do something else. I'm sure you can.
Do something else. Well, now we've got new shiny girl versions of Ratchet and Clank. Don't worry,
yeah.
guys. So sort of jumping off of that, the new shinier Ratchet and Clanks.
Yeah.
What do you think about the remake?
Oh.
That answers everything.
Yeah, I mean, okay. It's so the remake is based on the movie, first of all.
Yes. The other part of my question is, what do you think about the remake? What do you think about the movie?
So I guess I'll start with the movie. I
always I don't mean to interrupt you, but I always forget that they made a fucking Ratchet and Clank movie.
Yup, so did everyone else.
Like, did it ever come out in theaters?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Was it a straight to video thing?
No, it had a full theater release. Me and my brother and I think my dad went and we watched it.
I'm looking this up. How much money did this make?
Oh.
Had a budget of $20 million, box office of 14.4. Boom, 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 boom.
I mean, they only lost less than half the money they spent on it. But I mean, a
rating of 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh my god,
it wasn't very good. I'll just say that right now. It was not very good. I mean, I was through the moon that like my favorite video game series was getting a fucking movie. Like all through my life, like me and my brother like fantasized about the idea of like a Ratchet and Clank like toy set. Like you get a little play set of the fucking Starship Phoenix and you can like open up the top and like put Ratchet and Clank inside and stuff. Like that would be so cool, right? But oh yeah, we had the specific idea that the Ratchet toy would have a little magnet on its back that you could hook Clank onto. But I mean, so the idea that like something that we had always thought was like so underappreciated. That's okay. Sorry, a short aside. I always think it's weird that like Sony treats Ratchet and Clank as like its flagship series, right?
Yeah,
at least to a degree.
Sony's had a weird thing where they don't have a central. So I mean, we're long past the days of mascots, quote unquote. But you know, like, so Nintendo has Mario and Microsoft has Master Chief.
Yeah,
but Sony has like here's Sackboy.
Yeah,
here's Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yeah. Here's Ratchet.
Go!
Like, I always thought it was. I mean, they have so many like characters that they think are like mascot adjacent that they made a whole game where they fight each other. but like I always thought it was weird of Ratchet and Clank being one of Sony's flagship series when I like never hear anybody on this fucking planet ever talking about it. Like,
yeah.
It's like I feel like everybody like they've heard the name Ratchet and Clank, but like no one plays them. I never
genuinely straight up, I think you're the only person I know that has that has ever told me like I really like Ratchet and Clank. I love playing those games.
I recently, I mean, I learned Justin's a huge Ratchet and Clank head.
Yes, our friend Justin.
Yeah, he's like all about. He like knows more about the games than I do. But like also our friend that I've talked to a couple times, Sydney, she really likes Ratchet and Clank. But like
there's no Ratchet and Clank heads out there.
No,
there's nobody
it's
who's like a
not
super
really a
diehard
scene.
Ratchet and Clank fan.
For all my life, the only person I could really geek out about Ratchet and Clank with was my brother. Like
the Ratchet and Clank fandom is dying.
It's dying. Reblog if you're really Ratchet. But like, yeah, it's so weird to me how much like publicity and stuff, and like how it's treated as something that like everyone's beloved series and characters, when like I never hear anything about it from like anything other than Sony itself. So I mean, the movie was mediocre. It had a lot of the things that I didn't like about how they've been treating. It was a new Ratchet and Clank movie, so like it had everything. Like Ratchet's the bright and perky little hero guy. Of course, they give him his humble beginnings as an apprentice ship mechanic, so they give him a weird mentor character that, of course, has never been in anything ever. And I mean, Clank's story is pretty much the same. There's a big robot factory that is run by Dr. Nefarious for some reason.
Gotta put him in there.
They put fleshy, not robot Dr. Nefarious in the movie, and he works with Chairman Drek, I guess, who now has sclera and pupils, which he didn't in the first. He had like the pure teal eyes, and now he like just looks like a DreamWorks villain. And he does have a little cute space segue, which I think is fun. But I mean, Clank's story is the same. He comes out of a robot factory, crash lands on Velden. But I mean, there's none of that really like edge between Ratchet and Clank. There's none of that development. They kind of just like hit it off and go on their epic hero quest. Quark's character and motivations are completely changed. He's no longer works for Drek, but is like the leader of the Galactic Rangers, who is a team of 4 people, only one of which we've ever seen before, being Captain Quark. And so they just introduced 3 characters that haven't existed before. Ratchet does the Galactic Ranger tryouts, doesn't get in because Quark doesn't like him, and he's like, you're a loose cannon, but that's what I'm all about, so I can't have you taking my spot. But then Ratchet saves Metropolis, and he becomes like a big hero that everyone recognizes, and Quark hates him for that. And I think he joins the Galactic Rangers for a little bit. Point is, it's like nothing like the first game.
Then they made a game out of that.
Yeah, and so subsequently, it was nothing like the first game, other than they like brought back some of the levels from the first game, like the outpost is there, Poketaru is there. So if I keep in mind, I did not play this game. I played like the first level for like a few minutes. I've heard nothing but good things about the gameplay, and I'm willing to believe that it feels good to play. Everything else about it, I don't give 2 shits about.
It's very weird that they would do that, like make a game that's kind of a remake, but kind of also an adaptation of the movie.
Yeah,
and then they're like, "Oh, it's Captain Quark's story. It might not be reliable." And it's like, why would you do this?
It's dumb. I feel like they specifically made it just so they could have the line in the trailer. It's a game based on a movie based on a game. Like,
did they really put that in the trailer?
Yes, that is like the first thing in the trailer.
Oh my God.
It sucks.
Oh no.
but I mean, it was just, and of course, once they made Rift Apart, they completely retconned it because it completely threw the story off.
Like, this doesn't make it, who made this? This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Has nothing to. I mean, I guess they haven't really cared too much about the specifics of the timeline. They probably could have gotten away with it, but like they'd have to change a whole bunch of stuff, like what happens with Dr. Nefarious and the Galactic Rangers and stuff. It was just like too much of a mess and too much they would have to ignore to make it work. So they just scrapped it.
Yeah. And I mean, at the same time, I feel like they were probably working on Sunset Overdrive and also early stuff on Spider-Man.
Yeah,
while
yeah.
they were making this. So it's like, who really cares?
Who cares? Yeah. But I mean, I do think it's cool that, I mean, Rift Apart happens like after Nexus and goes with the original timeline.
It's a strange little game, and I don't know why they made it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they announced the movie a long time ago, and then
Yeah,
it
no, the
finally
movie
came
had
out, and
been
it was
announced
like bad.
yeah, and then like they were like, oh, hey, also we're making a game. It was also like kind of like the start of where like it was like the big thing to make a remake of a game that was on the PS2 or earlier. Or like, and I mean, people are still doing it, but like that was when like remakes were really like getting popular and like a thing that everyone was doing.
Yeah, it's just strange. I don't know why they made it.
I don't either.
Well, I've got one more question for you. It's gonna be kind of a short episode. We blasted through this. But you know, sometimes we gotta break them up. We got an episode that's fucking an hour and 45 minutes. Make it a little shorter.
Yeah.
So how has Ratchet and Clank affected you? How's it made you think
man.
about games differently?
Oh, this game like fucked me up. I blame this game entirely for making me a fucking weirdo. Like because it was like the first game that had like I was really into, and like it like kind of shaped how I approached games in general. Like I wanted every game I played to be like a third person action game, and if I had to play as a fucking human, I was out. Like I didn't want to play as like some dude when I could play as a cool space alien. Like, why would I want that? And it influenced my art a lot. Like, I mean, I would spend a lot of my early childhood drawing like Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper, even though I never played Sly Cooper, and drawing like a bunch of aliens and weird creatures. I mean, it shaped a lot of who I am, and I think that's cool. Because it's a cool series.
That's true. I you know, now that I've done research on it and looked through this game, you make a lot more sense. I do have to say.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really all I have to say here.
Word.
But Callie, thank you for coming onto this program.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It was very nice to have this. I don't mean to say that this is slight, but it's a nice lighter episode.
Yeah.
Than some of the longer stuff that I've done.
Talking for 2 hours about Resident Evil, or not Resident, Silent Hill 2.
Well, that was also pretty short. That was only about an hour 15.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
still.
But the longest one was the New Vegas one, and there was a lot of stuff that I had to cut because that was really long.
Oh my gosh.
And I've specifically made this show so that it would be shorter because like the longest Spidey Signals episode was like almost 4 hours long.
Oh my god.
Please listen to it. I need the money. I don't.
Word.
There's no money that's tied to that. But yeah, you know, it was nice to have something that was very simple like this.
Yeah, a little short and sweet. Just a little space adventure.
A little space adventure right before next week, our final episode. Before I do that, do you have anything you want to plug, Callie?
Sure, yeah. I am on Twitter and Twitch at Callie Creampuff. I haven't really done what I usually do, which is draw or do streams very recently, but I want to. And so if you want to finally be there when I start doing it again, Callie Creampuff on Twitch and Twitter.
Yes.
Oh yeah, also listen to Broadband.
Listen to Broadband with our other friends, Twilight and Scratch.
Yeah. We
Good
talk
program.
about
I think you also talk about Ratchet and Clank on that.
very briefly, because I realized I started talking about it. I was like, nope, I gotta save this. There's another thing that's specifically dedicated towards talking about this game. But yeah, we talk about music, we talk about TV shows and movies, and we talk about video games. So just like media.
It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week is the last episode of the season.
Wow.
Big number 10. We're gonna have Robby Dude on. The Italian stallion, Robby Dude, to talk about Dead Rising.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's
Because
gonna be a hoot.
it's we're finally getting back to a game that I've actually played, and I don't have to do a bunch of research on because I've already played it.
Word.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to get right questions because I've already played this game. So I will see everybody then. Callie, again, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Stay responsible. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is a Shutterball production.